Sherm Chester along with Sam Bruno on this edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum. We'll follow up on one item, but one that dropped in our lap this weekend. The biggie is that it was announced by ESPN that Tom Brady, TB12, was going to retire. And then a day later, Tom Brady said, "Hey, whoa. I didn't say I'm retiring yet." And another day later, it became official. Tom Brady wrote a 3-page thesis explaining why he is retiring. So, Sam, what's your take on the last days of TB12?
We have to address the elephant in the room right off the bat. What about the no Patriot mention in the retirement statement?
Yeah, I a lot of people, and that's one thing about what's happening now in the media. I watch mostly Channel 4, and their spin was totally positive about what he's done for football and in particular the Patriots. And unfortunately, one of the announcers, one of the news people, threw the negative spin on. Well, he didn't mention anything about the Patriots, and and then I watched later on. They had Scott Zolak, who's on radio, and he did the same thing. It was, he really shunned the Patriots. I guess he has a year of a contract left with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think the guy is smart enough to know that the Patriot Nation is going to do something special for him, in particular the Kraft family. So I really wish people had just taken a deep breath, let that note go out to the people in general, especially those folks in Tampa Bay who would be a little upset if we have a big party for him this year, since he's still under contract technically for them. Probably has a buyout, but still, I'd let it go. If I'm going to do a party for Tom Brady at Foxborough, I'm waiting until 2023. I'm going to give it a extra year just to let things calm down. They're talking about putting a bronze statue somewhere down there at Gillette. I just wish people would have accepted it for it was. A guy, 22 years in the NFL, giving it his all, exceeding any expectations that we ever had when he took the field for Bledsoe back in 2001. Wow, give the guy a chance to go out gracefully.
Well, I think the non-Patriot mention has a couple of angles here. The first angle is the financial angle. I think there's some contractual issues in his Tampa Bay contract that using the word retire or retirement is an issue. Okay. I think there's dollars to be moved and caps to be dealt with and things that you and I have no idea as to the intricacies of what that is all about. Right. So I think that's one thing that we go to. The other side of it is the intrigue side, is the theory side, that as of this taping, he has not filed with the NFL for retirement. Mm-hmm. So there's been nothing filed with the NFL for retiring. So that brings up the whole issue of first day of the regular season, game is at Gillette. Brady shows up, signs a 1-day contract, goes to Foxborough, puts on the uniform, retires as a Patriot, and then and retires in that 1 day, never sets foot on the playing field again. So that's another whole scenario that's out there right now. Right. I think that something's in the works because knowing the kind of guy Tom Brady is, I don't think the breakup with the Patriots was that bad that he would do something like that, as far as say nothing on thanking the Patriots for 20 years of service and that whole situation. So something's coming down the line. But I think the issue about retirement could be some financial issues that he has to square away first, because I think that coming up at the end of this week, he was due $15 million or something or other. So if he didn't retire. Right. So I think that those are the two angles that I come at on that.
Yeah, I agree, and you hit it on the head. That was another issue that they brought up on WBZ, that he'll be signed to a 1-year or 1-day contract, that is, so that he can retire as a Patriot. Well, again, that's great, and I hope it happens, and it probably will. But give it time to fall in place. If he does have a contractual obligation to the folks in Tampa Bay for a year, let it roll a year. Let it roll to the end of the season, whatever.
I think he had the total intention of doing this whole announcement during the 2-week break between the conference championships and the Super Bowl, where there's a week of kind of downtime for the NFL.
Right.
So I think he had that plan. I don't think he's too happy about that getting leaked by the NFL journalists, Schechter and those guys, letting all that stuff get out. I think that was very, very, well, that was mishandled. Poorly.
Yeah, it was.
Poorly.
It was very poorly. Well, that's the other thing about going back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. The media jumps on everything. It used to be, I know when I was a cub reporter for the local radio station, the boss handed me the Associated Press manual on how to be a newscaster or how to be a newsman, how to do it the right way. You didn't speculate, you got your facts straight. That's the bottom line. And you didn't announce something before it was official. I mean, we had different things over the years, or I wasn't there that long, but the time I was there, they would say this is embargoed. So it meant
embargoed.
We do not release this until whatever the time was. I remember the night I was at it was DNH then, now WOKQ, the night that the Associated Press, and we used to have a teletype machine, went crazy with the bells ringing. And that usually meant there was something major happening. And it was the night that Richard Nixon announced he was resigning. I was on the air the night that happened. So I got to read, and I still got that. It's faded yellow, that copy somewhere in my basement in a valise I had. That was a big story for my formative years. But there again, people give the guy his due. I mean, really, he's done nothing bad. I see the only regret I have is that if he retires this year, he's going to be retiring at the same time as Ben Roethlisberger. And I want to see Tom Brady go in by himself or with the veterans, but by himself as the star, just like, and we'll bring him up in a few minutes, Big Papi. I want to see him be the lead guy and not have anybody, like having to share the dais other than maybe a veteran or two. That I don't mind. But
well, we know that times have changed where that now with social media, it used to be a half day or a day or a few hours before you could get something out. Now it's seconds between rivals and getting it first. And ESPN wanted to get this first. And, they're trying to still be a player in the NFL world. And they weren't going to let this pass. So they thought they had enough sources. Again, do you have two sources? You go back to Watergate and all that kind of situation. Where are your sources? And they felt they had credible sources, but they didn't have Brady on board. They didn't have his agent on board. They didn't have his father on board. They didn't have the Patriot. Didn't have Tampa Bay on board. All they had was reporters. So whoever Brady told, he's got to look at his buddies a little bit more to see if they can keep a secret anymore.
I think I figured it out. I'm going to go on about this later at the 2-minute drill, but I think because he has a connection to ESPN, Tom Brady, he's been doing a program for them, and I'm going to mention that at the end of the show. And I think that's where they got their intel. And again, I think he probably, in this interview he does for them, said something, probably came right on and said, I'm going to retire. I've talked over with Giselle, and kids, and whatever. I think he said something, but it should have been embargoed. And you hit it on the head. With the internet, there is no embargo anymore. You just, the old saying in World War II was loose lips sink ships. I remember my uncle, the 99-year-old uncle, was in the Navy. I mean, that was the biggie. When you went on shore leave, you didn't say anything to anybody because it could cost your life or your shipmates their lives. So, this is the unfortunate part of the internet and instantaneous news, and I'll get into that more later. But my other question is, who gets custody of Gronk?
He can't be far behind, don't you think?
I would think this is it. I mean, really, you think about it, he's, lost his tag team partner, so to speak. And the other thing is future of Brady. I love the speculation. I mean, everybody's saying, well, he's going to run for office out in California, which he could. I mean, hell, he looks the part. I mean, I'd vote for him in a heartbeat if I was a president of California, because he's an articulate guy. He's, what you look for in a politician nowadays. Doesn't necessarily have to have a qualification.
The interesting scenario that might play out now is that I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the move, so he may be headed to Tampa Bay.
Well, Jimmy
Just like he
Garoppolo.
was behind Brady, he's going to move behind him and move next to him again, right
Yeah.
around the corner.
We'll get to him in a minute. I want to talk about those playoff games, but one last thing on Brady. This is an interesting piece of speculation. Again, nothing confirmed. The internet throws it out there that Amazon is starting their connection with the NFL next season. They've already signed up. They got Al Michaels is going to be their lead guy. So he won't be on NBC next year, which leads you to believe maybe Collingsworth is going to be moving into the lead job there, or should, let's put it that way.
I think it's going to be Mike Tirico.
I hope not. Tirico's okay, but he's not a frontliner. He's not an Al Michaels and these guys like Nance and that just kind of dry in, but that's my own opinion. Okay. So speculation is Troy Aikman is going to go over to Amazon with Al Michaels.
Okay.
Would open up the Fox job. But Brady has got almost a direct connection thanks to the folks at Gillette. He's got a direct connection with the CBS network. So I'm thinking like, if I was Tony Romo, I'd be kind of scared right now because he'd be the one I'd replace Romo in a heartbeat with Brady and put.
I don't think Brady's future is in broadcasting.
Well,
I don't think so.
I don't know, but I'm just saying that was the speculation.
I don't think so. I think there's a bigger chance of him and Peyton Manning and Michael Jordan being in the group that's going to buy the Denver Broncos that are up for sale. I see Brady more as an owner than I do see him as a broadcaster. So I think that's where that may lie. I think he may be part of a group that's going to go after that franchise, which is going to be worth about $3 billion. That's a B, Sherm, billion.
Yeah, I've said it. CBS would probably open the vaults to put him in the booth with Nance or whoever. He won't be the number 2 guy, that's for sure. I mean, as far as the number 2 broadcast team, he'd be number 1. For some reason, I don't see him on the Fox network. I know there's a different vibe there, but there's a possibility they'd put him with Joe Buck. And I don't see him going to Amazon. I think that's too small potatoes. And at this point, I mean, big money, but it's not going to get the focus that the other 2 do. And we shall see. We shall see. I don't know. It's going to be interesting how they shift around here. And so your speculation is he will just take it easy and become an owner.
He won't have anything to do with football. He may go toward ownership someday until he moves back to Massachusetts, gets residency in Massachusetts, and runs for senator of Massachusetts.
Ain't happening. Ain't happening, brother. He's going to go to. If he went and did that, it's California. He's perfect for out there. He looks the part. I mean, I don't know what party he's affiliated with, and that's probably part of the reason why he won't get into politics, because everything is so divided in this world right now. I think he wants to at least have a 75% popularity rating as opposed to 50% or 49%, depending upon what side of the issue or what side of what team you're on, so to speak, politically. So
he just wants to sell his avocado milkshakes to guys like you and me, and get us in shape, right?
And you'll see him on TV. And again, I'll save it for the 2-minute drill, something that he's doing right now. And I think what led to this getting released a little early. Let's go to another story follow up. Before we do that, let's follow up on the playoff games that went on this past weekend. So we know the Super Bowl is Cincinnati versus the LA Rams. Okay, we can. I picked Cincinnati. You got to give me half credit, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
And I think Jimmy G, like I said in the last show, he's not my type of quarterback. I think they had the game; it was theirs, but it just didn't happen. So,
okay, we'll start with the first game.
Yeah, do it.
The storyline for that first game is the collapse of Kansas City in the second half.
Right.
How does a team that looks so good in the first half let that last score at the end of the first half dictate how that whole second half was going to go? Mahomes and the Chiefs were just inept in that second half. They couldn't do absolutely anything. And how does that happen? It has to be the coaching. It has to be the play calling. Kansas City did something or refused to make any adjustments at halftime that caused them to just go into the tank in the second half and let Cincinnati roar back and tie the game. And then who knows what's going to happen in overtime. Trying to win 2 games in overtime like that is tough. I understand that. But the game never should have gone to overtime. At least Kansas City, number one, should have scored at the end of the first half, and they should have scored with a minute left to go when they're at the 15-yard line in 1st and 10, and they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. They didn't deserve to win. And so, is Joe Burrow going to be Tom Brady in 2002 against St. Louis? Is that the storyline here? David and Goliath coming up. So I think I had no problem with Cincinnati winning. I had a bigger problem with Kansas City losing.
Amen to that. Yeah, it was I had said I was picking Cincinnati, but Kansas City on paper, better team, should have had a day of it. But wow, if you let your foot off the gas pedal, bad things can happen, and
exactly.
did
exactly.
And the other game, like I say, Jimmy G, he's not my cup of tea. I'm sure they'll be shopping for a quarterback for San Francisco. The defense was playing tight. They were doing their part until the end, and LA just squeaks by, becomes the home team in the Super Bowl.
I think certainly the Rams have the players, and they've got the pedigree to do it. When we get the Super Bowl picks, I'll give you my idea about the Rams. But I think I think with 1:48 left, and you need a field goal to tie the game, and Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't get it done.
Yeah,
there's your story right there.
Exactly.
That's what happened.
We will hold back on our Super Bowl picks because we're going to do a special show next time. But let's go review something that we touched on, but it hadn't become official when we were doing our last program. Big Papi was elected to the Hall of Fame, 77 point something or other percentage of the vote that got him into the Hall of Fame. He is the only one this year. There were a lot of controversial ones that were right behind him, but didn't get enough votes. Clemens and Barry Bonds. What was your take on what you saw?
Well, I think the numbers came up just as I had predicted in the last show. 76-77% was a pretty solid number that was going to happen there. I think that I think most everybody was able to look past the steroid test that was the practice test, so to speak, that a lot of players showed up and they didn't, the accuracy of the test was in a lot of dispute. So I think that got Ortiz going through. So, it's going to be big time in Cooperstown coming up in July this year for him. And, I think as far as Bonds and Clemens not getting in, people again stuck to their guns, and they said, okay, we're not going to put them in as writers, but the Veterans Committee will put them in. They will get in through the Veterans Committee.
I just want to touch on something. I've been reading a book. We've been talking about it for a while. It's a long book. It was the Baseball 100 by Joe Posnanski. And the guy that was right below them on the voting tally was Curt Schilling. He missed it in his final year of eligibility. So now he's got to go to the Veterans Committee, and they feel he'll get picked in the veterans selections. But what he mentions in that book is that Schilling has all the stats and the guts when it came to pitching in big games, but his political views really shot him in the foot, and especially when he was doing his thing against the baseball writers. So, so it did him in, and the veterans probably will put him in. It was funny in that book. He mentions a few old timers, and it was surprising that there were years that the writers did not put anybody into the Hall of Fame. It was like in the mid 40s up to the early 50s. They didn't put anybody in the Hall. It was the Veterans Committee that did it. And an old Gas House Gang player from the St. Louis Cards or Browns, I'm not sure which, Frankie Frisch, I think he was the Cardinals. He was the head of the committee, the Veterans Committee. So he put all these guys that were his buddies from St. Louis in, and guys that were marginal at best. And so in his book, Posnanski says, it's kind of sad that there are people in the Hall of Fame that don't deserve to be there. And then
Yes.
people that should be that just got passed over, or they're an afterthought, as the veterans say, oh yeah, Archie Vaughn is one that he mentions, and I just, it was in one of those names that you hear about in the
Right.
old days of baseball.
Right.
But you know, he had all the stats, but he just wasn't a showman, you know, like some of these guys. Back to the vote. Well, actually, Pappy is going to be going in with, let's see, he's got other people in the veterans selections that are going to be there. I got to dig it out here on my phone. He's going to be going in with Gil Hodges. Now there's one, the Veterans Committee put him in. I've been hearing his name kicked around for years.
Sure.
And they wrote a book about it, you know, his exploits and accomplishments. So he'll be going in with Gil Hodges, Tony Olivo, Minnie Minoso, Jim Catt. Let's see who else. From Black Baseball, the Negro Leagues, it's Bud Fowler and also Buck O'Neill. And we know Buck O'Neill is the ambassador of the Negro Leagues. And Catt and Olivo. Well, Oliva, not Olivo. One's a margarine, one's a baseball player. Oliva, Tony Oliva, they will be inducted posthumously. So it's a nice array of names going into the hall. I like all those names that they've got there with Big Papi, and he's obviously the lead guy. Been a great spokesman for the sport. He has fun. That's what I like about the guy. You know, you see him after the post game or pre-game and post games. For the different series for Fox, and he's having fun, and I like, you know, he's a good ambassador. That's what I'm happy about. That they need more of those types in the Hall of Fame. Controversy, you know, we'll see if Clemens, all of us that are Red Sox fans would love to see him in there just for his accomplishments with the Red Sox. But you brought it up. It's all that sketchiness in his later years,
right?
Trying to get a little more gas out of the tank. You know, and Bonds, obviously there was some issues there. So we'll see. Time will tell. Let's, before we go into our 2-minute drill, I want to congratulate the seniors. And you have some news about the schoolboy and schoolgirl basketball tournaments that are upcoming. They kick off next week. So how about you start off with the news, and then you can congratulate those ladies from the Blue Hawks.
Okay. Again, we'll talk about the season wrapping up this week. Again, the condensed schedule gets the season done the first week of February, with the wrap up being the championship games on February 20th at UNH. Division I boys at 10 a.m., Division II boys at 1 p.m., Division I girls at 4 p.m., Division II girls at 7 p.m. All at UNH, all on one day, February 20th. So now for the playoffs, the first round of the playoffs will be in the girls' side of the bracket, will be the top 14 teams will make it. Top 2 teams will get a bye, and then the other teams will play a preliminary round game, quarterfinal round game, semifinal game. Preliminaries for the girls start on the 8th of February. The quarterfinals will be on the 11th of February. And just announced today, the semifinals will be Tuesday, the 15th for the girls Division I, and it will be 6 and 8 o'clock at Exeter High School. So Exeter High School will host the Division II, check that, Division I semifinals for the girls. Over on the boys' side, everything is about a day after that. Prelims start on the 9th, quarters on the 12th, semis on the 16th. Still don't know where the semis are going to be for the boys Division I situation there. So again, everybody looking toward the 20th of February for 4 championship games at UNH. Now over for the girls, and then we'll shift over to the boys for you, Sherm. Congratulations to the Exeter girls. They finished with a regular season of 8 and 10. They'll be making the playoffs. They'll be playing a preliminary game against a team to be determined at this time. The bracket's not out yet. But congratulations to the Blue Hawk girls seniors, Lily Dickinson, Jaden Rancourt, and Aaron McElroy for finishing up their season. And best of luck to them in the prelim round that starts on February 8th. Now, over on the girls' side, the favorites are going to be pretty simple. Pinkerton, Portsmouth, Bedford, Concord, and Girton. Those are the top 5. And there's not a lot separating those teams. I've seen Pinkerton, I've seen Bedford, I've seen Concord, I've seen Bishop Girton. And on any given night, any of those teams can beat the other. So those are your favorites going into the tournament. I haven't seen Portsmouth, so I'm not sure about them yet. But if I had to pick any team right now to go all the way, I would pick Pinkerton. I would think Pinkerton, the way that they play, the pace that they play at, they're going to be a tough beat. Over on the boys' side, Sherm, you had a nice win last night for the boys basketball team, and they're probably going to host a game when the playoffs start.
Yeah, COVID, unfortunately, has taken its toll on a few of the players for the Blue Hawks. So Coach Holmes has had to kind of put together some JV players, call them up real fast, and have them answer the call. And they've done well. They've done well. They had a real seesaw battle going on with the Wyndham Jaguars. And again, it's all chemistry. This is not the time when you want to lose players, because you got to get that mojo going. And unfortunately, having these guys come from the JVs, and they've done great things for Kevin Walker on the JV team, but it's like, okay, you got to deliver.
Right.
So, and they have overall, but getting that chemistry of 5 guys and then substitutes, getting in, the rhythm of things. It's been rocky, but it's happened for them again. That Wyndham Jaguar game, they won that in overtime. It was a struggle. It was a slobber knocker, like one of the wrestling commentators called it. But they did it, and they needed that win because it's seeding. It's all in the seeding. At this point, and right after we finished our last program, I said Trinity is, in my opinion, the team to beat. They are. I thought they might sweep the table. Unfortunately, they lost that next night, that next game. So they're not going to be an undefeated team. But I still say they're the team to beat. But we got a lot of talent on a given night. It's whose chemistry is there. I hope we're healthy by the time the playoffs start next week. From what I understand, the guys that had to sit it out because of the COVID issue will be back. There were a couple of guys that had some injuries that had to sit out the previous game. They're fine. They're back. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that we get a good seed. We hopefully can get a home field playoff to start it off, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's on a given night. Everybody shows up. But I want to congratulate the senior guys and their families. But Will Ducharme, Owen Grace, Nathan Gregoire, Conan L'Italien, Johnny Meyer, Nate Ross, Aaron Scher, Max Smith, and Samir Usta, seniors for the Blue Hawks, who've done great work so far. We want to see them keep rolling along, and like to see them over in UNH on the 20th of February. That'd be great. We got a busy day there, as you know. 10 o'clock in the morning, folks, the Division I boys championship game. So it's going to be an early start. And I was talking to Mike Murphy, and he's looking forward to seeing us over there. So that'll be fun on the 20th for the finals. So good luck to all the teams involved, and both the Blue Hawks and the boys and girls teams. I hope they get a good seed and get home court advantage. And then let's go to the 2-minute drill, my friend. What you got for me?
Well, I think, when we get close to Super Bowl, you start thinking about baseball. And again, we're going to have to get through this whole work stoppage thing. I think that baseball players and union people are trying to do this, and I just shake my head constantly about the fact that you've got a product that is really needs some adjusting. And while they're trying to work out the financials here, they're not spending enough time in the labor negotiations on how to fix the game. There are some adjustments that need to be done as far as the pace of play, as far as the extra innings, as far as the designated hitter. These are all things that have to be resolved to get the product moving, but they're still trying to figure out how much bonus pool money here and all this situation. We know it's all financial in that situation, but the owners and the players are going to drive the sport into the ground unless they solve some of these issues and be a little bit aggressive on it. So I think baseball, you need to wake up. You need to wake up right now and get through this labor shortage. Again, I'm not worried about losing spring training. That's not a big deal for me. I mean, if they need to take this to the last week of February and then figure it out, that's fine with me, or the last week of March, I should say, and figure it out. That's fine. But don't put the regular season in jeopardy. Make some of these necessary changes and go for a longer term agreement so you don't have to keep bringing this back. At least 5 years, hopefully 7 years. It would be great if it was a 10-year agreement with you, where you could reopen into some options later on. But they need to address it, and they need to address it now. And really, it's getting close to save the sport time right now for Major League Baseball.
You're right. I mean, if they lose the season because of COVID, or parts of the season with COVID, as they have in the past too, they need to. Baseball is really starting to lose their momentum with the kids, the people they need to get for a new generation. So they can't afford to lose any time. I mean, really, they've got to keep it going. And like you said, spring training is really not all that important for the pros, the big guys, because they're most of them. You've got the real guys like a JD Martinez. He's practicing all year round. He doesn't just take the winter off. You know, the old days, they'd be working on a second job because they didn't make any money. Going back to those 40s and 50s and 60s, those guys, they didn't make the money, so they had to have a second job. Most of them were at warehouses or
they were beer representatives.
And beer representatives, right? Well, I tell you what, we got a special guest. I tried to get Coach Taylor on with us. Unfortunately, I didn't today, but I did get somebody that could do a 2-minute drill for us. And Bill Belichick he was unavailable. He wasn't available for our show today. So I went to the guy that is a Hall of Famer and has the same initials, Bill Ball. And Coach Ball is going to give us his opinion of Tom Brady and his legacy.
Certainly generational guy. There won't be another like him. There won't be, certainly no one before him, no one after him. His attributes, all the intangibles, obviously, but the leadership part of it is incredible. His ability to come back. His ability to come back from knee surgery years ago and to keep himself in such top physical condition throughout 22 years is a near miracle. He's an all-time, and there won't be another one, like I said, like him. Unbelievable.
In our last program, I showed off the jersey that Hunter Long came in and presented to you. I just wanted to find out if he had said anything about his first year in the NFL.
Doing great. Very positive, great experience. He was heading back to Florida when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. Then he's heading out to California for workouts with other receivers and pro quarterbacks. He's got it all. He knows what he wants to do. He will be a really fine NFL player, and he'll have in my opinion, a long career in the National Football League.
Did you get to see him play when he was at Foxborough this year?
I did not. We had, it was the middle of our season, so Sunday's a busy day. Okay. But I did watch it on TV.
Okay.
Taped it, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, that I've said it in previous shows, we need to get a road trip.
That's it. I like that.
You can drive the bus, but we got to get down to one of his games one of these days.
No doubt. I'm really proud of him. He's unbelievable. He's doing great.
And we'll have more with Coach Ball coming up on our next program. We'll get to that in a second. But first, my 2-minute drill. We've been talking about Tom Brady and a lot about what transpired with ESPN breaking the news of his retirement a couple of days early. And I think I figured it out. He has been doing a show for ESPN Plus, a division or springboard or whatever they call it of ESPN. It's called Man in the Arena. And it's a multi-part series focusing on his career, his 22-year career. And matter of fact, Sam, I splurged. I have Disney Plus for the grandkids, but you can get ESPN as part of a bundle. So I bundled it up so I could get ESPN Plus so I could see this Man in the Arena. and find out more about Tom Brady. And not, it's really done well. I have to admit, it's a lot of the NFL films tied in, and Tom talking about how it started back in 2001, the big decision by Belichick to pick him over Bledsoe, and it has Bledsoe there giving his feelings, and a lot of the guys that were there, Willie McGinnis, and it's really a well done feature, a multi-part feature. And I think the last segment has been videotaped, but hasn't been released yet. And I think in that one, he told whoever the announcer is in it off screen that, yeah, this is it. And that's how it all slipped. But, the embargo thing we mentioned way back at the beginning of the show, nobody honors those anymore. And so that's my 2-minute drill. If anybody has Disney Plus, and has that bundle, they can see Man in the Arena on ESPN Plus. You have to have, unfortunately, that. Eventually, I'm sure ESPN, the regular channel, will have it on the cable and on the satellites and all that. But I said, I've been hearing about this for a few weeks now, and when this all hit the fan this past week, I said, I'll spring for it. It's only a couple of bucks. So, and my grandkids, there's good stuff on it too that my grandkids could actually watch and maybe learn from.
If there are two people who know how to make money out of the media, it's going to be Giselle and Tom.
So
okay.
I just found out, our producer was saying that his production company is part of this Man in the Arena. Well, you know what? If he's doing it to kind of encapsulate his career, God love him. I mean, he's doing a nice job of it. He's not showing himself off. He's showing the team. And it's like, I think we all ran out after they won their first Super Bowl and bought the Days of Glory or whatever it was called. And every time they won the Super Bowl, they had their DVD package. You could go out and buy extended coverages and the inside NFL films with the Steve Sokol and all those guys. I miss Harry Callis. It was a cold and snowy day at Lambeau Field. Or was that?
So sure, everybody who follows the show is just waiting for us to make Super Bowl picks. Can you tell everybody when we're going to make our Super Bowl picks?
Okay, that's the other thing I want to mention. We're going to have a special Super Bowl show next week, or in our next edition of the program. We're going to do our picks. I've been doing a survey, just off the cuff survey of people of bumping into about who do they think is going to win. But the other survey is the food they're going to eat during the Super Bowl. And I mentioned it on our last program. We're looking into doing a tailgating show. So we've got a couple of shows here, ours and a show called Outside and In with the Cook's Cook. And she is Denise Landis. And Denise is going to show her expertise and come up with some treats for the Super Bowl. And I'm going to make my infamous chili. And Bob Glowacki, our producer, has volunteered to be the taste tester.
Don't worry, I'll buy the Tums.
I don't make it that spicy. That's what I was saying to Denise. People overspice everything. So we'll find out. We got the picks, and then I've been, like I say, surveying folks and seeing what they like to snack on during the Super Bowl. And another thing I will mention, I'm also part of that USA Today, where I get to look at the ads ahead of time and get the vote on them. So we'll so far they haven't released any, but we'll talk about that in the next program too. So did you want to give us our Super Bowl pick, or you want to hold it?
No, we'll wait. I need a few more days of analysis to figure this out. I want to see how often the Rams are going to party in LA during Super Bowl. I have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to be in your own home turf. I think
it can be an advantage and it can be a disadvantage. Well, although Tampa Bay didn't matter to Tampa Bay last year.
No, for sure. Well, that does it for this edition. So next time, a special Super Bowl tailgating edition. I guess maybe we might have to call it the big game edition, because
that's right. Right now, the legal people are writing you letters.
Thanks. So we'll call it the big game edition. And so on behalf of Sam, Bruno, and Bob Glowacki and the gang here at the Seacoast Sports Forum, we hope to catch you on that special edition next week, our Super Bowl edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum. Be sure to subscribe to Exeter TV on YouTube and hit the bell to get notified about new episodes of the Seacoast Sports Forum and other local content. Follow the Sports Forum team behind the scenes on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and send us your game footage and photos to our email. That's seacoastsportsforum.extv@gmail.com. This is Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum.